Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is February 22nd, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. This is edition number 2 on the evening. Let's take a look at what the latest on the model runs show us as far as our very active storm pattern that will be continuing on in through early next week. Atmospheric river extending all the way back north of the Hawaiian Islands. Here is Sunday system. This energy back here, this is Monday system. A very potent low pressure system is going to come up and park off our coastline, bring some very strong winds and potentially into some of the interior areas as well. Very warm rainfall, high snow levels, flooding concerns will continue all the way on in through early next week as well. Now, looking at the Pacific Northwest from a wide view on the National Weather Service main page, you can see all the funky colors out there. Kind of looks like a fruitcake. That's how you know things are crazy across the Pacific Northwest. Looking at Seattle, there's gale watches here for some of the interior waters. I can't remember the last time I saw a gale watch. There's a storm watch for some of the Washington coast. This is for Monday night into Tuesday. And I better click on that storm watch. I have not seen that one yet, but this goes on in through 10 a.m. on Monday. So that's the initial system there as well. So yeah, and big seas also. Look at 24 to 29 feet possible, gust to 55 knots. Impressive stuff out there. We have a couple pretty strong systems rolling through here. And Spokane calling attention to some of the winds as well. Monday, gust to 40. Tuesday, gust to 50. Always with the great graphics here. The National Weather Service Spokane always talks about the proper stuff. Look at this. Winds combined with saturated soft soils will lead to concerns of tree damage, especially on Tuesday. We look down towards Medford. We got high wind watches in effect. We got flood watch for the coast and some of the interior. Cottage Grove North got hydrologic outlooks as well. And they talk about the gusty conditions on Monday, and they do mention our atmospheric river event. Look at some of these amounts for the coastal areas. 4.46 inches for Brookings, Oregon. This was issued just at 5 p.m. Tonight. So wild stuff here across the Pacific Northwest. So I'll show you some of the models here on that in a moment. But if you want a nice, affordable weather station, this thing has its own lightning detection system with it. It's got a haptic rain gauge. It'll tell you when it starts raining at your house. All solar powered, all wireless. Help support the channel. Click on the link down below to save 10% off. Now look at the GFS. So we saw this atmospheric river on the infrared satellite imagery. Now here goes Sunday's system there. This frontal system's going to roll up across the region there, bring some blustery conditions with it, keep a lot of that precipitation going. But look at Monday's system there, this nasty boy spinning up off our coastline. It does slow down enough to where it's going to cause some pretty great discrepancy on just how strong the winds are going to get for places like Seattle and for Portland. If this thing were to track and move quicker and just burrow into southwest BC, would be much more confident of a very damaging windstorm. However, that is not the case. It slows down, spins right off the coastline, but this is likely to bring some very intense winds to portions of the coast. I'll show you the latest on those speeds here in a moment. But we look at the European 18Z, you can see precipitation continuing all the way on into Monday morning. Maybe a little bit of a break there at times for some areas, but look at this 973 millibar beast off our coastline. Look at that intense pressure gradient. Sustained winds are going to be stronger than a Category 1 hurricane on the south side of this low. And then it moves towards the coastline, but you notice it starts to fill here as we go through Monday night, but still a very intense pressure gradient. And again, depending on just how far this gets towards the coastline, where this pressure gradient sets up will determine what kind of wind speeds we get for the interior areas, Willamette Valley as well. And then after that, looks like we do get a bit of a break, but we have a ways to go to get there first. So let's just concentrate on that for now. But I wanted to show you this as well. If we go through Sunday night, we do have a thunderstorm chance, mainly north of Seattle there. Could get a lightning strike or two at that, but we really destabilize a bit more as we go through the day Monday. This is about 2 p.m. And look at this instability come up across, especially some of the Willamette Valley and up into southwest Washington. We're also going to have some very interesting winds at the surface out of the southeast with some southerlies and southwesterlies aloft. And if you've been watching the channel, you know that means we may have some rotating segments here with some of these storms that come across, or some of these showers that move across some of western Washington, western Oregon as we go through the day Monday, meaning you could get some kind of tornadic potential with that, as well as thunderstorms, maybe some hail and whatnot. And that could potentially spread off into eastern Washington, eastern Oregon here as well. So if we take a look at the high resolution models, we're now within range of these. You got the composite reflectivity over the next 60 hours on the left and 48 hours the HRRR goes out on the right. But let's put this into motion, and you can see it. Look at the HRRR painting this frontal system across Olympia towards SeaTac there, all the way back down towards Hoquiam, southwest Washington, kind of draped right across the region. Some pretty intense rainfall coming with that, slamming into the Cascades. Most models show somewhat of a break here for western Washington though, as we go into tomorrow morning. But look at this, Willamette Valley still under the gun with some very heavy rainfall all the way on through the day Sunday. Then we get this next system rolling in here. And again, that could kick a couple thunderstorms, a couple lightning strikes with that as we go through Sunday afternoon and evening, mainly across northwest Washington. And then we wait for the big boy to come, and we set up what is a warm frontal system here. We get some easterly winds out ahead of this very deep mid-latitude cyclone off the coastline, and that could bring some interesting weather. I mean, look what the HRRR is showing, some very intense segments. And again, would not be surprised if some of these are rotating here, and that could mean a brief tornado with some of this action. And then watch as this spreads into eastern Washington also. Both the North American model and the HRRR have some interesting thunderstorm developments, some pretty potent segments. Again, could be rotating there and be producing prolific lightning as they move across eastern Washington. The HRRR didn't show lightning with this. It showed maybe a little bit across northern Oregon, but it's hard to ignore these high resolution models with that. And if you take a look, you can see the spin off the coastline there with this very intense mid-latitude cyclone knocking on our doorstep. Now let's take a look at what the European is showing for accumulated max 10-meter wind gusts. So here we go on Monday. Look at this bent back occlusion rushing into southwest Washington and Oregon. And then you see this happen here. You're talking about 50, 51, you're talking about 52 for Seattle, 55 for Olympia. You really start to ramp up the tree damage, especially in saturated soils when you do so. So we really got to watch this. I mean, you get 52 and you start getting some power outages and whatnot. You see these big winds across the northwest interior and, of course, the Washington coast and Oregon coast. Some areas could potentially be gusting to 70 miles per hour with this storm system. And as we go through the day Tuesday, you see some of these big winds across even eastern Washington, eastern Oregon. And of course, if you're across some of the higher terrain and ridges out there, expect those strong wind gusts as well. Now, if we take a look here, I'm going to compare this to the GFS. The GFS is on the right. I already showed you the European, but also check this out. As we're going through tomorrow afternoon and evening, I have 44 for Seattle, 45 up towards Everett. That would get your attention as well. It'd be kind of blustery also. And the coastal areas, gusting 50 plus there as well. Now, we watch the next system roll in and look at the GFS showing Seattle 54. That's a pretty significant windstorm there. And again, so we got to kind of watch that. You can't really ignore that the European and the GFS are showing 50 plus mile per hour gusts for some of the Willamette Valley and for western Washington. Now, taking a look at ensemble agreement on this. So we are getting some pretty good agreement in this storm. You can really see this potent system here starting to get some tight clustering of these low pressure centers. And again, there will be 50 of these showing up because the European has 50 ensemble members. So, yep, we are getting some confidence in that. But the good news is for people that don't want to get, big time region-wide windstorm damage is this storm is weakening as it tries to cross across into northwest Washington into southern BC. Now, rainfall potential here as well. You can see the precipitation continuing on. If I back that up a little bit there, looks like by tomorrow afternoon, Seattle 1 inch, but that's quite a bit more here across some of the Willamette Valley, southwest Washington. Olympia 1.5, almost 2 inches of rainfall there, 2 plus for the coastal areas. This is just in a 24-hour period. Now we scroll on and towards Monday morning, you see some of the rainfall continuing. Then we bring the next system up and across the region. And that one's going to bring some rainfall with it as well and some impressive amounts. Look at Seattle. Talking about 1.46 inches additional 24-hour period. So that would cause some definite concerns. Look at Olympia, another 1.8, Chehalis 1.9. So yeah, we got a lot of rainfall to go through as we go through the night on Tuesday. And then finally we get a break as we go through the day Wednesday, and then maybe another weak system passing through Thursday. It doesn't look like a big deal right now. European total precipitation, I'll scroll this really quickly. This goes out to Friday morning, and you see the huge amounts coming for some areas, and the max showing up over 10 inches for some of the higher terrain. Now, risk of excessive rainfall. There we go, day 1. And day 2, slight Olympic Mountains, southern Washington Cascades, northern Oregon Cascades, and the entire Oregon coastline. And that would be starting Sunday morning through Monday morning, and they continue this on through the day Monday into Tuesday morning. Okay, so here we go. 6 to 10 day outlook above normal here for the west. Kind of this mixed bag across the Pacific Northwest. You see the flashing red. That's avalanche warning in effect. So click before you go. Check it out. Even for places like Snoqualmie Pass, we have avalanche danger, avalanche warning upper, middle, and lower elevations there. So yeah, they don't mince words here on the Avalanche Center as well. Several rounds of natural avalanches large enough to bury and kill you are expected. So they're straight to the point there. But anyway, I'll wrap this up. I'll get this video out here. I'll do my normal briefing tomorrow. Hope you guys are having a good night, and I will talk to you guys then.